Look, Wispy! There's the other portal! Wait, Wispy, no! Blasted into a different portal, I have been trapped in Terraria's hardest world in Legendary mode. If I want to rescue Wispy, I'll have to beat Terraria's hardest world. This all starts with the jungle. The only way to gain equipment in this world is through crafting, farming enemies, and fishing, because every chest in this world is empty. Below spawn, I chopped down trees, and the brain of Cthulhu yeeted itself into oblivion. I expanded the platform, and because the world has been smeared beyond measure, I have to drain lava that is in my way. Experiencing my flesh burning was the first death of many to come. Lava wasn't the only thing in my way. Land masses filled with hellstone that I was unable to mine blocked my path. Thankfully, I could mine around them. Because the world has been vomited, I was able to mine platinum, lead, and crimtane at the surface of the world. Maybe I'll survive this fall, if I go like this. I crafted a lead bow to defend myself with, and it took 16 shots to kill a zombie. I forgot to mention this is a large world, so I have a lot of mining to do. I expanded the house to get the merchant NPC, and now I had access to infinite torches and arrows, because my supply of wood was running extremely low. Crafting fire arrows, I was officially stronger than a blue slime. Don't make fun of me. This was a huge victory. I reached my first landmark, the desert, and since the underground desert was at the surface, antlions would spawn on my platform. A blood moon spawned, and I stole a zombie's raincoat, leaving me one step closer to looking stylish. Then I was challenged by a mushroom bug and delusionally figured, nah, I'd win, and proceeded to get rammed through by a walking mushroom. But Legendary mode enemies don't mess around, because it also murdered my NPCs and spawn camped me. If I want to reach the jungle, I have to increase my defense and attack. I mined platinum for armor and crimtane to craft the tendon bow. Antlions are no longer an issue. Hey, 2v1 isn't fair! If you guys are enjoying the video, leave a like and subscribe. These videos take so much time to create, so knowing you guys are enjoying them helps motivate me to create even greater videos. Also, will somebody please save me? I finally reached my destination. Now that I was in the jungle, I could collect spores, stingers, and vines to craft the blade of grass. I mined 2 heart crystals, and because of the world generation, I realized items like heart crystals, statues, and furniture were essentially split, resulting in single heart crystals becoming 2. This made heart crystals extremely easy to find. Even though it's causing me a tumultuous amount of pain, the world generation looks so cool. Speaking of world generation, I reached a ginormous hole that I coined the Abyss. Was this the end of the world? Sadly, no. There was a jungle temple in my way. Basically, this is the jungle temple, and it has been stretched into a wall preventing me from accessing the left side of the world. There was also a hellforge 350 feet above the surface, which I think is pretty funny. I farmed vines, stingers, spores, and crafted the blade of grass. No longer was I the victim of bullying, it is I who am now the bully. The world generation made it easier to collect potion materials that are usually harder to obtain, like finding fire blossom at the surface. I turned my focus towards fishing and crafted the flesh catcher. To kill the bosses in Legendary mode, I have to move fast, so I required lightning boots. To craft the lightning boots, I would have to fish for the anklet of wind from jungle crates, sailfish boots, and the egglet. It's time to commence fishing time. To increase my chances of regular crates, I built a fishing hole in the cavern and obtained the sailfish boots. I fished the fiberglass fishing rod, the egglet, the staff of regrowth, and finally, the anklet of wind. And just like that, 6 hours of fishing was summed up in 15 seconds. Obtaining all of the materials, I crafted the lightning boots. I was ready to fight the King Slime and the Eye of Cthulhu. I planted trees so wood was no longer a dying commodity and decided that Over the Abyss was a perfect place to build an arena. Once the arena was finished, I wanted a magic mirror because I was tired of turning into a pancake upon landing to return home. Mining diamonds, I used this opportunity to mine other gems for a hook, but as I was mining, I reached space and crashed the game. This confused me because the game had been running perfectly up until this moment. So I quickly discovered that because the world has been stretched, rising above 1022 feet causes the game to load non-existent blocks and crashes the game. This meant that I was no longer allowed above 1022 feet in the sky. And that's not really a problem, because how often do you need to go to space? Unfortunately, because the game crashed, my boss arena no longer existed. In Legendary mode, boss's health, damage, size, and AI is changed to make the game more difficult, so prepping the arena was crucial. I placed campfires, collected a sunflower 2,000 feet below the surface, and placed it inside the arena, along with a heart lantern for added regeneration and speed. The Eye of Cthulhu unexpectedly spawned and the battle commenced. Here is my equipment for the fight. Using the tendon bow with flame arrows, I set the Eye of Cthulhu on fire and kept my distance. Whenever the minions came in close, I switched to the Blade of Grass to kill them. In Legendary mode, the Eye of Cthulhu spawns an overwhelming number of minions, which make it impossible to dodge the Eye of Cthulhu during Phase 2. Thankfully, the minions dropped enough hearts to keep me alive. To counter this, I switched to only using the Blade of Grass. In the end, it was an extremely close fight.
Yeah! And then we died to an army of them.
Next up was King Slime. For the fight, I attempted to use explosive bunnies for the lulz, and underestimated how much larger the King Slime is in Legendary mode. Increasing the size of the arena, I focused on maintaining my distance and dodging whenever the King Slime teleported. Next in line was the Brain of Cthulhu. Since I didn't have a Crimson, I decided I would make my own and give the Dryad a stroke. Spawning a Blood Moon so I can purchase Crimson Seeds and Vicious Powder, I built a Crimson biome and an arena underneath. Before I fought the Brain of Cthulhu, I required Swiftness Potions, but I was lacking a very important ingredient.
Cactus.
I've already spent hours in a world trying to grow cactus, so I was very happy when I collected some 2,500 feet below the surface. This world is weird. I was ready to fight Brian. Can we all collectively start calling the Brain of Cthulhu Brian? Here's my equipment entering the fight. For the first phase, I used the Blade of Grass to kill the creepers because it was more effective than using the tendon bow. In Legendary mode, once Brian enters Phase 2, it will reverse gravity. This was so extremely disorienting and made my brain go. From the fight, I obtained enough tissue samples to craft the Crimtane pickaxe, and decided to save my few remaining brain cells, so Brian is free to live another day. To kill the Queen Bee, I would need to increase my defense, damage, and obtain a Bezoar. Crafting the Molten Armor, the Volcano, and the Molten Fury, I went searching for diamonds and finally crafted the Magic Mirror. Killing the King Slime again, I obtained the Slime Mask, combining the Raincoat with blue dye. I was looking stylish. It was impossible to build an arena inside the jungle because I was swarmed by every enemy possible. Placing walls throughout the arena, I can stop enemies from spawning, or not. While building the arena, I killed a hornet and acquired a Bezoar. In Legendary mode, the Queen Bee shoots stingers faster, so the Bezoar is necessary if you don't want to die of poison. Underneath the arena, I built a house for the Dryad. This will grant me the Dryad's Blessing, giving me +8 defense, 50% Thorns effect, and extra health regen. With all of my accessories reforged, well fed, and the Dryad's Blessing, I had 59 defense in pre-hard mode. I was ready to fight the Queen Bee. Here is my equipment. Primarily using the Molten Fury with Hellfire arrows, whenever the Queen Bee released bees, I switched to the Volcano and killed all of them. My biggest struggle was killing enemies spawning during the fight, but what I find really funny is that I was easily able to tank multiple attacks and heal by killing said enemies for hearts.
Come on, tanker! Tanker! Yes! First freaking try!
Killing the queen bee was a walk in the park, and I was ready to test my strength against Skeletron. I located the dungeon, and it looked like it had been slapped by a cheese grater. I was praying the dungeon would be normal, but by this point my expectations were crazy low. What lowered my expectations even further was the old man. You know who I'm talking about. The dude who violently birthed Skeletron? Yeah, where is he? Because he's not here. I searched the entire dungeon, going as far as mining in space, and you know how dangerous space is. At one point, I thought I didn't have to kill Skeletron, but that idea quickly disappeared. So that just leaves the question remaining, where is the old man? He's here. I found him. He was on the other side of the world. I had to dig around the entire jungle temple to find him. I hate you. While mining around the jungle temple, I managed to find a lizard altar and break it. This is because of the world glitch where items are splitting that I talked about earlier. With the arena built, I was ready to fight Skeletron. Here is my equipment. To start the fight off, I was hit by every attack imaginable in the first 10 seconds and was quickly overwhelmed when my arrows bounced back at me. So I focused all my brain power on dodging his attacks and destroying his arms, because in Legendary mode, Skeletron is immune to projectiles while spinning until his arms are destroyed. Once it was only his head, Skeletron spawned dark casters throughout the arena, but I just tanked their attacks or killed them. From there on out, the fight was super chill.
Woo! Skeletron first try.
I thought Legendary mode was supposed to be hard. Now that Skeletron was defeated and I could access the dungeon, I built a fishing hole because there are no chests in the world. I have to fish for golden lockboxes to obtain the Muramasa, Cobalt Shield, and Shadow Key. But to unlock the lockbox, I required golden keys dropped from dungeon slimes, and my dungeon was too small for them to spawn. I would have to create my own dungeon. To do this, I needed to craft cursed dungeon walls using the shimmer. The only issue was, this world was made before shimmer was invented, so I added it myself. But to make it fair, I placed it on the other side of the world. I placed them throughout the arena because dungeon enemies can only spawn behind cursed dungeon walls, and dungeon slimes quickly began to spawn. I obtained the Muramasa, Shadow Key, and Cobalt Shield. With the Muramasa, I crafted the Knight's Edge. To prepare for the Wall of Flesh, I have to build what I am calling the Tunnel of Death, because in Legendary mode, the Wall of Flesh spawns fire imps throughout the arena and is way faster. In a normal Terraria world, hell is usually full of empty space, but since my world is spread like butter, I had to mine the entire tunnel, and I don't even know how long it took. I stopped recording because I was afraid my storage was going to hit max capacity. Reflecting on my time spent mining feels like I was a rock, slowly watching the world pass me by. But hey, here's before and after the tunnel was dug. I need to increase my speed before I enter hard mode. Throwing a magma stone into the shimmer, I obtained a lava charm. Fishing for water walking boots and the ice skates, I crafted the Terra Spark boots. With the tunnel dug, all that remained was the final touches. Locating dart traps in the jungle, I attached them to a quarter-second timer so they would shoot down the 3 corridors. This will stun and prevent fire imps from shooting fireballs. On the other side of the arena, I built a funnel that will compress the Wall of Flesh into the tunnel. Placing minecarts directly underneath the middle corridor, this will stop the Wall of Flesh's lasers from hitting me and allow me to outrun it with the minecart. Finally, I placed imp banners throughout the tunnel for extra damage, and I was ready to kill the Wall of Flesh. Here is my equipment. The beginning of the fight was rough. I lost half of my health and was worried the tunnel didn't work. But after a few seconds, the tunnel was working perfectly. The only issue was imps were spawning above the tunnel, but I just tanked their attacks, while the Knight's Edge and Inferno Potion went to work.
Oh, we did it! I thought we were just about to die.
Celebrating my victory, the world broke the altars and added hard mode ores to the world for me. Wait, no, stop. Please, that's too many! In Terraria, the more altars that are broken, the more wraiths will spawn. So please stop! To kill the mechanical bosses, I was going to use a combination of both range and melee. For my range equipment, I farmed ice cores and crafted the frost armor. When I started, there was only 2% crimson in the world. Since then, I have expanded a world-eating hive mind and introduced sin into the world. am such a colonizer. Farming Souls of Night and Cursed Flames, I farmed Crimson Mimics, acquiring the Flesh Knuckles and Dart Pistol. For my melee equipment, I crafted Adamantite Armor, farmed Mimics for the Titan Glove, and crafted the Berserker Glove, gaining a total of 90 defense with my melee armor equipped. As for my weapon, I crafted the Adamantite Glaive. In Legendary mode, Skeletron Prime's bombs will destroy blocks. To prevent my arena from being exploded, I can place dressers along the arena and put a block inside them. This makes the dressers unbreakable. To do this, I pooped on the Dryad's head. With the poop, I crafted fertilizer and used it to instantly grow trees. Crafting dressers, I built my indestructible arena. I attempted to kill Skeletron Prime with my melee equipment, and it was terrible. I never want to be that close to his face ever again. Instead, I used my range equipment. During the fight, I focused on dodging Skeletron Prime's attacks and shooting the dart gun above to attack all his arms simultaneously. Other than that, I kept my distance and he was super easy to kill. By using the Gunnier, I can attack multiple segments of the Destroyer at once. Here's my equipment. When the Destroyer spawns, he is coiled and unravels himself. Watching where he spawned on the minimap, I use this as an opportunity to attack his entire body at once. Stick it, stick it, stick it, stick it, stick it! My first time killing the Destroyer with melee, and I accomplished it by inflicting 204,000 damage in 6 seconds. Then I was assaulted by a mob of pros. Not wasting any time, I fought the twins and failed to dodge every attack and died. So I increased my health with life fruits and tried again. Flying as high as I could while moving to the other side of the arena and until the twins switched directions was an easy pattern to remember and execute to dodge attacks. In Phase 2, my increased health meant I could tank more attacks and focus entirely on dodging Spasmatism.
Woo! Twins down, baby! That was easy.
Next up was Plantera, and I was determined to kill her with melee weapons. And it was nice not being one-shot by everything constantly. Crafting the True Knight's Edge, I modified the jungle arena and obtained the Moonstone during an eclipse. I farmed turtle shells and crafted the turtle armor, putting me at 109 defense. I shimmered a summoner emblem into a melee emblem, fished for the feral claws, and crafted the fire gauntlet. My equipment was prepared and I was ready to kill Plantera. Entering her second phase, I went to use a teleporter and she broke the sound barrier. I believed Plantera's increased speed was due to legendary mode and I figured I needed a larger arena. On my second attempt, the teleporters were working until Plantera inconveniently placed her hook directly on the teleporter, followed by breaking the sound barrier again. I realized Plantera was becoming enraged at the end of the arena because it was no longer the jungle, and the teleporter strategy was not going to work because Plantera's hooks are a nuisance. So I constructed what I am calling the Wind Tunnel, a tunnel stretching upwards into the jungle. In Phase 2, I led Plantera into the tunnel and used the Chlorophyte Shortbow to attack. But the Shortbow wasn't inflicting enough damage, so I switched back to using the Knight's Edge. However, I ran out of the tunnel and Plantera became enraged.
No! It's only 5,000! Fuck!
I knew this strategy would work and increased the length of the tunnel. Here's my equipment. In Phase 1, I avoided Plantera's hooks because in Legendary mode, they inflict 100 damage. In Phase 2, I entered the tunnel and stayed close enough to damage Plantera and avoid her tentacles. Once again, I ran out of the tunnel, but this time I used the slime mount to stay out of Plantera's range, in case she became enraged and returned to the bottom of the tunnel, where I barely squeezed by Plantera. I repeated this cycle until I killed her.
Oh, we did it!
Since there was no chests in the world, I farmed lizard power cells. I wanted to kill the next bosses with the Terrablade. Now that Plantera is defeated, Mothron will spawn and I can get the Broken Hero Sword. I use the Venus Magnum from Plantera to kill the Mothron. I didn't get a Broken Hero Sword, but I did get the Deadly Sphere Staff. So instead I farmed in the dungeon and acquired the Tabby, Rocket Launcher, and Black Belt. These items will be extremely useful shortly. Since I don't have the Terrablade, I decided I would use the Venus Magnum to kill Golem, and crafted the Shroomite armor. I killed the Wall of Flesh for an emblem and crafted the Avengers emblem for increased damage. Throwing a blindfold into the shimmer, I obtained a pocket mirror and crafted the reflective shades, the last item I required to craft the Ankh shield. Finally, I crafted chlorified bullets and was ready to fight Golem, but first I had to remove a bazillion dressers from my arena. I immediately noticed Golem was faster, and with a single touch his fists crippled me. Managing to enter phase 2, he attacked me with such ferocity and violence, before dipping out of the arena and perfectly intercepting his boot with my face. So I tried again and died again. It turns out I did not learn my lesson from Plantera, and Golem also becomes enraged when you leave the jungle. I just never knew because Golem is a pushover in every difficulty besides Legendary mode. So I tried again in the jungle, and I didn't know in Legendary mode that Golem makes everything go dark, so I thought I went blind. Then I ran into a hornet and imploded. Because Golem makes everything go dark, monsters in the arena essentially become stealth bombers. To stop monsters from spawning in the arena, I decreased the width of the arena to fit at each end of the screen, added teleporters on each end, and placed walls to decrease enemy spawn rates. A solar eclipse occurred and I killed a Mothron, acquiring the Broken Hero Sword.
Oh! We got the Broken Hero Sword! That's it! We got the Terrablade!
I crafted the Terrablade and acquired my endgame weapon, but I decided I would still use the Venus Magnum to kill Golem. Here is my equipment. I don't have much to say about this fight because I quite literally ran in a straight line, but I will take back what I said about Golem. He is still a pushover even in Legendary mode. Crafting the Beetle armor, I had a 119 defense with all of my melee accessories. Without any preparation, I was ready to fight the Lunatic Cultist. But where are they? This was a serious concern, because if the old man was on the other side of the map, where, oh where, are the cultists? But I had a genius idea and expanded the platform the old man spawned on. Reloading the game, the cultists had spawned. I cannot believe that worked. I decided to build my Moonlord arena preemptively. The only issue was because the world is curb stomped, I have to mine an insanely large area. But that triggered my Wall of Flesh arena PTSD, so I came up with another genius idea. Nukes. Starting a solar eclipse, I purchased rocket 4s from the cyborg and crafted mini nukes. Using the mini nukes cleared out the area so fast. I wish I had these for the Wall of Flesh arena. At the end of the arena, I built a wall and placed a teleporter at the bottom, which is connected to another teleporter in a house outside the arena. The house is for the nurse and is where I will set my spawn. Using the solidifier, I crafted frozen slime blocks and placed them on the bottom of the arena. Frozen slime blocks allow you to infinitely slide without losing momentum. The Moonlord arena was finished and I was ready to fight the Lunatic Cultist. Here is my equipment. Starting off the fight, I quickly realized the Lunatic Cultist attacks were not able to damage me. When the Lunatic Cultist casted his ritual, I focused on using the Terrablade to attack the real Lunatic Cultist. The only issue was the Terrablade has a super wide attack, and I accidentally spawned a Phantasm Dragon. But the Terrablade's wide projectiles made the Phase 2 attacks easy to destroy. Killing the Lunatic Cultist was easier in Legendary mode than in the regular difficulties. Because of the world, the Celestial Pillars would spawn in super inconvenient places and make it ridiculously hard to reach the pillar. They are annoying in every difficulty, but Legendary mode made destroying them even more time consuming. On my way to the arena, Moonlord arrived before I could set my spawn. So when I magic mirrored, I was sent back home and beamed into oblivion. So I tried again, and this time I misclicked and unset my spawn. However, it was not in vain because I realized even with the Steampunker wings, I was struggling to dodge the Moonlord's death ray, and the Terrablade's projectiles were not long enough to reach the Moonlord's other hand. To make up for this, I crafted the Daybreak and encountered a problem. Because the world did not have chests, it was impossible to obtain the shoe spikes for the Master Ninja gear, and you can't fish them either. So I gave them to myself. Because in the Don't Dig Up and Zenith Seeds, mimics can drop the shoe spikes, so I felt like it was fair. I was ready to kill the Moon Lord. Here is my equipment. The Master Ninja gear made avoiding the Death Ray child's play, and I noticed his eye charges before he fired it, which made it even easier to dodge. Using the Daybreak, I was able to precisely target where the Terrorblade projectiles couldn't reach. Usually, when I'm facing the Moon Lord, I am extremely anxious, but the arena worked perfectly and it removed all of my worries. Flying to the other side of the arena, I waited until Moon Lord fired his Death Ray, magic mirrored to the nurse, and healed before teleporting back into the arena. To avoid canceling my spawn point, I deactivated the smart cursor. The hardest part of the fight was healing, because Moon Lord flashbangs you and it's impossible to click on the nurse. I didn't wait for the Moon Lord to quit attacking, so when I magic mirrored to the nurse, she was slapped so hard she exploded. Without the nurse, I had to survive without being able to heal. I was hit by 2 death rays and I was ready to throw in the towel when the nurse arrived. I survived long enough for the nurse to respawn and recovered my health. At this point, I have put more than 70 hours into this world, and although most of it has been mind-numbingly farming and mining, this is by far my favorite challenge so far, and somehow I have learned even more about Terraria. Killing the Moon Lord, I successfully beat Terraria's hardest world in Legendary mode. Now that the Moon Lord was defeated and I acquired the portal gun, it was time to rescue Wispy. Shooting the portal into space, I hopped inside. Wispy, are you alright? Why? Who ordered them? Gotcha. Alright, let's go and find those other hearts.